I got brutally beaten by my son's fiancée because she thought I was his mistress. This story will surprise you. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. My son Troy Malone posted a set of photos of us having dinner together on Facebook, and the caption read, "You have been by my side all the way. Thank you. The most important woman in my life." Unexpectedly, my son's fiancée Sienna Hunt mistook me for Troy's mistress. On the day of the engagement banquet, Sienna led a group of her friends and blocked me at a beauty salon. You shameless woman. How dare you seduce Troy? I will make sure you're unable to seduce a man for the rest of your life. Girls, sew her part down there up. If anything happens, I'll take the blame. Sienna violently beat me up at the beauty salon before taking me to the engagement banquet. Today, I will let you see who Troy really likes. Sienna said as she stepped on my face with one foot, humiliating me. All the guests around burst into laughter, just as Sienna was enjoying her triumph and beating me up. Troy finally arrived. I watched Troy feeling like I was on the verge of dying. The engagement banquet seemed like it might end now. Troy was about to get engaged to his girlfriend, whom he had been dating for 2 years. Hearing this, I was overjoyed and thought that the Malone family would soon have a successor. Then I canceled all my work in Orco and bought the earliest flight ticket. I rushed back to Latin art. Overnight, I reunited with Troy at a restaurant. Then he posted a photo of our reunion on Facebook with a caption that read, "Thank you, the most important woman in my life." Since Troy's father passed away, all the business responsibilities had fallen on my shoulders. I had no choice but to fly to Orco. It had been many years since I last saw Troy. Upon learning the news that Troy was about to get engaged, I prepared myself seriously. I planned to face my in-laws with my most stunning look so as not to embarrass Troy. That night, Troy and Sienna had a big fight. I asked Troy what had happened. After all, tomorrow was their engagement banquet. Troy angrily told me Sienna said, "She wants to beat up my mistress. She is so unreasonable. How could I, Troy Malone, have a mistress?" I rarely interfered or inquired about Troy's matters or relationships, but I advised him, getting married is a matter between two people. You must be loyal before getting married. If I find out that you dare to bully Sienna in the future, I will teach you a lesson. I don't care if you indeed have another woman in secret, since you chose Sienna cut off all ties with other women. Troy was sweating profusely for my scolding. I didn't expect that the night before their engagement banquet, Troy and Sienna would have a big fight because of a mistress I had secretly made up in my mind. I decided that I would personally explain the misunderstanding between Troy and Sienna. At the engagement banquet tomorrow, I bought a villa worth $17 million as a meeting gift for Sienna, her mother-in-law. The day before the engagement banquet, I carefully dressed myself and went to a beauty salon to get light makeup. I intended to show up looking my best before attending the banquet. Tonight, just when everything was ready and I was about to attend Troy's engagement banquet, I saw Sienna leading a group of girls rushing into the beauty salon. Angrily, I thought to myself, what a small world. I was about to get up and greet Sienna and meet her in advance. However, looking at me fiercely, Sienna walked towards me with her girlfriends. Everyone in the salon was surprised and stared at us. Sienna slapped me in the face, ruining my carefully applied makeup. The burning pain on my face made me feel dizzy. The situation was chaotic. Sienna grabbed my hair and cursed at me loudly. "You are such a bee. Do you think I can't find you hiding here without Troy being honest with me?" Her sudden slap and the overwhelming insults made me feel both pain and embarrassment. All the guests in the beauty salon were eagerly watching as if this were some drama where a legitimate fiancé beat up a mistress. She seems quite well-mannered with her words and actions. Some whispered unexpectedly. At this age, she would seduce other men and do such shameless things. Everything can indeed happen in this vast world. Everyone's whispers echoed in my ears. I endured the pain on my face and Sienna. "You misunderstood. I am Troy's." Sienna didn't give me a chance to speak doubt. She grabbed my hair and pushed me down to the ground. Several of her friends swarmed around, punching and kicking me. The intense pain almost numbed my whole body. Sienna scolded me while beating me. "You slept. You seduced my husband, and you deny that you're not a mistress? If you're not his mistress, how do you know my name? It's funny. I didn't expect you to hide so well. Let me tell you, a lowly woman like you will never be able to rise high and gain glory. Don't ever think about snatching my husband from me your whole life. When I marry into a wealthy family, I will sell you to a brothel, let you serve thousands of men and be taken advantage of by tens of thousands." Amid such offensive insults, I kept Sienna. "I am not Troy's mistress. If you don't believe me, call Troy and ask him." Before, Troy had shown me photos and videos of him and Sienna together. In the photos, Sienna appeared as a gentle, considerate, and well-educated girl. But now I realized that I was wrong. I didn't expect Sienna to be so sarcastic and mean. She wouldn't give me any chance to explain. She pulled my hair apart and crazily dragged me around, suffering from excruciating pain. I screamed over and over again, "Well, Troy, you're calling him so intimately. A cheap whore is always a cheap whore. Now you're still verbally stubborn." Sienna looked gloomy, saying, "What a stubborn woman. You sluts who serve as mistresses for others will never admit that you are mistresses, even in death. Later, I will take you to the engagement banquet and personally ask Troy whether you or I serve him better. With me around, you will never be able to marry into a wealthy family in your whole life. At best, you are just second-hand goods that Troy will kick away after getting tired of you, Sienna's." Sharp curses kept stimulating my nerves. I dared not imagine what would happen if Troy married a woman like Sienna in the future. Before this, I was full of expectations. I even bought a post-marriage villa for them. Let's kill this slut. Take off her clothes today. I want to see if this trash has any shame." Sienna's best friend's eyes flickered with fierceness. They stared at me intently. 4 or 5 people were crazily pulling my hair and beating me on the ground, cooperating with another woman. Sienna was tearing off the buttons on my long dress. For a moment, I was covered in blood and my body was exposed. Everyone looked at me gloatingly, as if it no longer mattered to them whether I was a mistress or not. The scene of me being humiliated and beaten became a great show in their eyes. They watched with excitement. I desperately covered my chest. There were so many of them. I was simply no match for them. The intense pain almost made me faint. In a daze, I even saw Sienna taking out her cell phone and starting to take pictures of me. "You slept. Your reputation is to be ruined."
Sienna's.
Several close friends were about to tear off my remaining tattered clothes. I shouted out, "Sienna, I am Troy's mother." Sienna was stunned. I got brutally beaten by my son's fiancée because she thought I was his mistress. I thought she would call Troy and personally verify my identity. But she laughed recklessly, saying, "You, vixen, do you deserve to be Troy's mother and my mother-in-law? You are just a mistress who can only serve others for a lifetime and live in darkness. You are nobody but a good-looking slut. Troy will never like you. If you were Troy's mother, then the whole world would be turned upside down." Sienna sneered, her face showing madness. Taking out her cell phone, she constantly took pictures of me. What made me desperate was that there were many employees and customers in this beauty salon, but no one stopped them. Everyone was holding their cell phones and taking random pictures of me. Did you see it? This is the end for someone who becomes a mistress for others. The legitimate wife caught her in a beauty salon. The mistress deserves to die. Take off all her clothes and let her be disgraced. She can never turn her life around. The guests added fuel to the fire. Everything around me was in chaos. I felt like my face was covered in blood. I was going to be beaten to death by them. In the chaos, I seemed to hear Sienna's best friend, who was uncertain about the situation, asking quietly, "Sienna, should we confirm it? What if she is?" Before she could finish speaking, Sienna waved her hand to interrupt her. Looking at me lying in a pool of blood with disheveled hair, she said with a sneer, "My mother-in-law is still in Orco. She said she would only arrive today. I did tell Troy that I would attend their engagement banquet on that exact day. By the way, I would formally meet Sienna. I was very happy. I would surely attend Troy's wedding regardless of what happened. So I arrived early last night. I had a meal with Troy at a restaurant near the airport. Now, I knew that Sienna was referring to the photo Troy posted on Facebook last night. I was the mistress that Sienna wanted to beat up. Amid the tearing and fighting, Sienna tore my long dress down to my waist. Her friend restrained both of my arms, and Sienna tore off my remaining underwear. There was a burst of commotion around us. "Well, you have the guts to be a mistress, but you don't dare let others see your private parts. Indeed, you have got something. I didn't expect you to maintain yourself so well." Everyone picked up their cell phones and took pictures of me. Fervently, I screamed miserably, struggling with all my strength, but her friends firmly pressed me to the ground. "Take your hands away," to reveal her chest. "I want to post the photos online so that netizens across the country can see this slut's body." Sienna almost lost her mind. The sound of her laughter echoed through the beauty salon. I fell into a pool of blood, almost dying. Until now, I finally confirmed that Troy had never shown Sienna my photo. "Sienna? Does she seem to be dying? Shall we continue?" Sienna's best friends were a little scared. Sienna sneered, saying, "You act so amazingly when you were being Troy's mistress. Did you ever think about your outcome? It's okay as long as I marry Troy and marry into a wealthy family." Troy and my mother-in-law will help me handle it, no matter what happens. After finishing her words, Sienna waved her hand and said, "Drag her into the car." Then she looked down at her wristwatch and her face changed. She hurriedly said, "Hurry up. Let's go to the engagement banquet venue. My mother-in-law should be there soon." Troy said, "He wants to formally introduce me to his mother today." After Sienna finished speaking, her group of girlfriends started pulling my hair and dragged me out of the beauty salon. Before leaving, she raised her voice and said to the boss of the beauty salon regarding all the losses caused by us here today, "Go to the finance department of the Malone Group to be reimbursed for it. Tell them that Troy's wife sent you there." At her words, the beauty salon boss's face changed. He quickly showed a pleasing smile and said, "So it's Mrs. Malone. Don't worry, we won't call the police about what happened here today." Sienna was proud and satisfied. I, who had almost lost all my strength, was humiliated, allowing them to drag me out of the beauty salon. Passers-by were pointing at me and whispering. Sienna stood with her hands on her hips and cursed. "I'm teaching the mistress a lesson. It's none of your business." Someone couldn't bear it anymore. A woman stepped forward to persuade her. "Miss, even if she is indeed the mistress, you can't beat her up like this. Her face is covered in blood, and you tore her dress. Get a piece of clothing to cover her up. Every part of her has been exposed. We all have our dignity. Moreover, what you are doing is illegal." Sienna wouldn't listen at all. She sneered at the woman who spoke up, saying sarcastically, "Well, you are so eager to come forward to defend this slut. The way I see it, you are just like her. You are a shameless mistress, right? And I am rich. My husband is the chairman of the Malone Group. Even if I kill someone, I can afford the compensation." The woman angrily glanced at Sienna. I didn't expect Sienna, who looked gentle and weak, to speak so viciously. Finally, Sienna and her close friends drove and dragged me to the lobby of the hotel where the engagement banquet was held. Today was the engagement banquet. Both families had invited many guests from each side. There were dozens of them. I was dragged in. The guests on Sienna's side and various relatives all looked at me in unison. "Is she the mistress you mentioned?" Sienna's parents stood up and looked at me with resentment on their faces, nodded, saying, "Yes, that's right. She is the woman in the photo my husband posted on his Facebook timeline last night." I couldn't have mistaken her hearing Sienna's confirmation. Her mother, Elena Newman, ran straight to me and started slapping my scalp furiously. "Bitch, how dare you steal my daughter's man? Today I'll kill you." The continuous blows left me too weak to even speak. I even wondered if they would beat me to death here today. Kill her. Only my daughter can marry into a wealthy family. Elena called her friends over. The people from her side surrounded me again. In the end, Elena said to Sienna, "Sienna, bring a knife over. I want to ruin her face. I'll see how you seduce other men in the future." Sienna handed a knife to Elena. Everyone was looking at me as I endured heart-wrenching pain. Elena fiercely slashed my face with the knife. Ouch! I screamed hoarsely. The overwhelming pain made me wake up from the daze. At this time Sienna's cell phone rang. She arrogantly turned on the speakerphone and Troy's voice rang out. "Sienna, has my mom arrived? What happened over your side? Why is it so noisy?" Sienna sneered, saying, "I'm teaching your mistress a lesson." Troy was stunned. "My mistress? What are you talking about?" Sienna, with a knife in her hand, said, "Your mistress from last night's photo." Troy's face filled with anger when he heard that that's my mom. "What did you do to my mom?" As Troy's words echoed through the speaker, the entire room fell silent. Sienna's face turned pale, her hand frozen midair, still gripping the knife she had just used to humiliate me. The sneer that had twisted her lips moments before faded into sheer terror as the reality of her actions crashed down on her. "My mom," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper, her gaze now fixed on me, the woman she had relentlessly tormented and humiliated. Elena, her mother, who had been cheering her on, froze in disbelief. "What do you mean?" she muttered. This can't be." But it was I woman they had beaten, stripped of my dignity and my very clothes. Was Troy's mother not a mistress? The crowd began to murmur in shock and disgust, eyes filled with pity and horror. Troy's voice on the phone grew colder. "Sienna, what did you do? Is my mother hurt? I'm coming now." The line went dead, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. Sienna dropped the knife, her hands shaking uncontrollably. She stumbled back, her face twisted in fear as she realized what she had done. Her perfect life, the engagement, the marriage, all of it was slipping away. She had shattered everything with her blind rage. Elena grabbed Sienna by the arm, trying to shake some sense into her. Fix this, she hissed. Do something before it's too late. But it was too late. I could see it in their eyes. There was no going back. They had stripped me of my dignity and nearly my life, all based on a terrible misunderstanding. When Troy burst through the doors of the hotel lobby and saw me lying there, beaten and bloodied, his face twisted with pain, he rushed to my side, his voice shaking. Mom, I'm so sorry, he whispered, tears filling his eyes. This is my fault. I should have. Despite my pain, I reached out and touched his cheek, trying to comfort him. No, Troy, I whispered, my voice weak but steady. This isn't your fault, but she can't be part of our family. Not after this. Troy's face hardened with determination as he stood up. He turned to Sienna, his expression cold and unforgiving. It's over, he said flatly. You're not the woman I loved. You're nothing to me now. Sienna fell to her knees, sobbing hysterically. Troy, please. I thought she was a mistress. I was jealous. I didn't know. She cried, her voice desperate. But Troy's face was set like stone. You didn't care to know. You let your jealousy ruin everything. Get out of my sight. Elena tried to intervene, but Troy cut her off with a sharp glare. And you, he spat. You're just as guilty. I don't want either of you near me or my mother ever again. As Sienna and her mother were dragged out of the hotel, I looked around the room at the guests who had come to celebrate. Now they stood in stunned silence, unsure of what to do or say. Troy knelt beside me again, his tears falling freely. Now I'm going to take care of you, Mom. I promise. I smiled weakly at him, my heart aching from the pain, but also filled with love for the son who stood by me. That's all Eve ever needed, Troy. Just you. And as I lay there in the aftermath of betrayal and humiliation, I knew one thing for nothing could break the bond between me and my son. Not Sienna, not anyone. As Troy held me close, I could feel his arms trembling. Though I was still weak from the beating, I knew the worst was yet to come. The physical wounds would heal with time, but the emotional scars, the betrayal, the humiliation would stay with me forever. Yet even as I lay there, bloodied and broken, I couldn't let this be the end. The next morning, I woke up in a hospital bed, the sterile sound of antiseptics filling the air. Troy sat beside me, his face etched with concern. He hadn't left my side, not even for a moment. When our eyes met, he gave me a weak smile, but I could see the guilt behind it. Mom, he began softly. I'm so sorry. I don't know how this happened. I squeezed his hand, my voice still hoarse from the attack. It's not your fault, Troy, but we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. I couldn't let Sienna and her mother walk away from this unscathed. Their cruelty had gone too far, and I needed justice. Not just for me, but for every person they had hurt along the way. Later that day, I contacted my lawyer. There would be legal action, charges of assault, defamation, and harassment. I wanted Sienna and her family to feel the full weight of their actions. The news of the engagement party incident had already spread online like wildfire, with pictures and videos circulating. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for every woman who had ever been shamed and degraded. Weeks passed, and the court case gained momentum. The Malone name, once respected, was dragged through the mud. As Sienna's brutality came to light, her family, once so proud of their wealth and status, found themselves in the middle of a scandal that wouldn't go away in court. I faced Sienna for the first time since that horrific day. She looked smaller now, her arrogance stripped away. As the evidence piled up, the photos, the witness testimonies, Sienna's confidence crumbled. She tried to apologize, to claim she was overwhelmed by jealousy. But her words felt hollow. No apology could undo the damage she had done. The judge handed down the prison time for Sienna and a hefty fine for her family. As they led her away in handcuffs, I felt the sense of closure wash over me. Justice had been served. In the aftermath, Troy and I began to rebuild our lives. We moved to a new city, far away from the memories of that awful day. I started a foundation for victims of domestic abuse and public humiliation, using my story as a beacon of hope for others who had suffered in silence. Troy, too, found his way again, though the experience had changed him forever. He was more guarded now, careful with whom he allowed into our lives. And as for me, though the scars remained, I had found strength I never knew I had. My life wasn't defined by what Sienna had done to me, but by how I had risen from it. I was no longer a victim. I was a survivor, and nothing could take that away from me. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with strength, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her son.